Dreamsnaps have a big problem. Well, to be fair, it has a lot of problems. Multiple problems. I'm not gonna listen. Shut up. I'm talking. Thank you. I'm gonna stand here. This is a nice area to make my intro. Welcome to Disney Dreamlight Valley. Dreamsnaps have problems. Let's talk about them. Let's try to figure out a way how to fix them. And which problem do you think is the worst one? I'm gonna start. The worst problem in Dreamsnaps is the randomness of the results. And I've made a whole video on it a couple days ago where I went deep into the detail on that and even suggested a few ways to fix it. But that is not the only problem. Another problem that a lot of people have been having, and me included, but I feel like I get this problem way less than other people because I see a lot of comments, people seeing old submissions, old theme submissions in the latest challenge. For example, I've got a couple comments just on my yesterday's video that people have seen so many pirate submissions while voting for the bedrooms. Now, to be fair, I've voted probably 100+ images today. I haven't seen a single non-bedroom submission, so for me it was fine. But a lot of people said that they're seeing previous season submissions, and I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I feel like I have a theory why this is happening. And also, there is another problem that, in my opinion, ties into the first problem a lot. And it's the fact that some people never get their results. I'm getting comments on every single week results review. People just saying, I submitted my Dreamsnap, but I never got rewards. And sometimes it solves itself. Sometimes people find their rewards in a different house, or they get the results when they restart the game, or potentially it just shows up a little bit later. But a lot of people just never get their rewards. And there is also a few ways that can happen. First of all, you might have not actually properly submitted your picture. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it glitches out. Sometimes you might have Touch of Magic items somewhere in a different biome picking up, like the game picks up that item somehow is in your picture. And it will give you a message that looks very similar to the success message, which is going to say that it wasn't submitted because of Touch of Magic items. So pay attention. Make sure to always go to your current challenge and click on it and make sure that your picture is correctly submitted. I don't have anything submitted right now, so nothing shows up, but that is very important. However, I still believe that certain people just, when they do everything right, they are still not getting their results. And I've been thinking long and hard, what if this is connected? What if us seeing wrong week submissions while voting is connected to people not getting their results? What if somehow the game picks up a wrong submission from people who, for example, you submit this week challenge, but somehow in the system it registers the last week system, and somehow then your last week photo gets picked and inserted into the voting pool of this week. However, when it comes to the results, the game checks and sees that none of your current photos have been inside the results, which means that you didn't participate and you don't get a reward. Maybe people who don't get rewards are people who get their old photos shown during the Dreamsnap voting. That's just a theory, but it's an interesting one. It kind of makes sense because I feel like these two issues are connected for some reason. Also, another theory, why can we see old submissions during Dreamsnaps? What if, for example, somebody submitted their pirate submission, but then they didn't participate in the bedroom challenge at all? And then when it comes to voting, the game just checks for the last submission that people did, and they just put it all together. So if somebody didn't submit anything for bedroom, but submitted something for pirate, what if their pirate submission actually gets pulled into the Dreamsnap voting? Like, it makes no sense, right? But weirder things have happened. That would explain a lot. And those people probably don't even know they're participating, and they're probably never going to get a reward. But somehow, like, I would be very surprised if the game didn't run any checks and just took the last submission that the person did, assuming that's going to be the last week without even checking which week it was made or submitted for. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Does it actually negatively affect us, the fact that we are seeing lots of old week submissions? On one hand, the more unrelated submissions we're seeing, which probably are people not going to vote for because they're just going to assume that it doesn't fit the theme, it does probably decrease the competition for the rest of us who actually has the proper submission. So potentially having those submissions circulating increases your chances of getting higher results. But once again, that's just a theory, because maybe those are not even taken into account when the actual calculations of your rank takes place in the end. So we don't know nothing. That's the problem. That's another problem with Dreamsnaps. They have to tell us more details, and I understand. They have some secret formula that calculates the results, and they probably don't want us to know it, because if we know the details of how ranking works, we're probably gonna try to cheat it and somehow circumvent the rules to exploit some vulnerability in the system. So I can understand why they're not giving us details on how it works, but at least they have to acknowledge it. They have to say that we have checked all of your complaints about the Dreamsnaps, and we can confirm that your results are completely accurate and all the voting process is occurring as intended. Because right now, there are so many things that seem wrong. Like, you can argue, I just got my results yesterday for my submission, for my pirate submission, and I thought it was good. A lot of people told me it's incredible, and I only didn't get 4,000 moonstones when I submitted it for the Dapper Challenge, because it didn't perfectly fit the theme. But if you submit it for a pirate challenge, you're gonna do great. Well, I did worse. I did actually worse submitting the same submission during the pirate challenge than submitting the same submission during the Dapper week. So you could think, okay, this game is rigged. This submission clearly should have done better because it's more relevant and it's a great submission. But if I'm being honest with myself, I look at my submission, and then when I was voting, looked at other people's submissions. It's not about being better. A lot of people assume that the more effort you put into the image, the higher it should rank. And I'm one of those people. Like I always, when I spend a long time perfecting my Dreamsnap, I feel like the longer I spend on it, the more value it has. But if we're being completely honest, when people go and vote between two photos, they're not gonna try to estimate how much effort went into each photo. They're just gonna vote for the picture that looks more pleasing to their eye, that satisfies something in their brain. Like, for example, look at these two pictures. Which one do you think took more effort? I would say probably the right one, and honestly, the right one is clearly better in this situation. Here, once again, the right one is better. I want to try to find a submission where more simple image actually looks better than the more complicated one. Oh my god, this is beautiful. Oh, I'm saving this. This is really nice. Anyway, I couldn't find any examples, but if you watched my previous voting videos or live streams, you definitely saw me voting sometimes for such a simple picture that looks like it took maybe 5 minutes to make versus something that people clearly put a lot of effort. But sometimes you just, like, it doesn't work like that. The more effort you put into the picture, the better it's going to rank. And it doesn't work the opposite either. Sometimes very high effort pictures can actually do really well. It's all about how it's being perceived, and it's really hard to be completely biased. So I feel like, yes, there is randomness to the results, and yes, there is a chance that there are some mistakes or some problems with the voting algorithm, whatever the logic is in determining your placement in the end, or how the submissions gets meshed up against each other. But in the end of the day, most of the time, if your submission did worse than you thought it deserved, most of the time, it's because you probably have a bias, because you probably spent a lot of time on your submission and you have this false perception of value that nobody else except you have. And that's why most of the time people who like get very surprised and very happy when they get 4,000 moonstones, and then they say, oh, I can't believe I scored this high. I spent only like 10, 15, 20 minutes on my submission. And last week I spent 3 hours and I scored so much worse. You see what's happening? People don't believe that their submission deserves to be this high if they didn't put enough time into it, but they also believe that it deserves to be higher. They basically try to value the image on how much time you put into it, but it doesn't work like that. You can get absolutely gorgeous, stunning picture in 30 seconds if you just mostly get lucky, because it's really hard to predict how things are going to look once you start making a submission. Or you can spend 5 hours chasing that perfect image, which is only perfect in your imagination, and then in the end, if you're being like, you're just so committed to it, you already spent so much time on it, you just have to see it through, even though you might even start having doubts that maybe that image is not as perfect as I thought in the beginning, but you already committed to it, so there's no turning back. That's what happened to me multiple times. That's what happened with the Donald image. I can easily admit, in the back of my mind, in my heart, I knew it wasn't that great. It took a lot of time to do, and you guys probably value it way more than you should, because you were during the live streams and you saw me suffer for hours trying to get the perfect shot. So you are biased against my image as well. But for somebody who never saw me created, doesn't have any idea what that image actually took to produce, they're just going to see something that looks more pleasing to the eye, a little bit more sunset, slightly better angle, more gold shine, I don't know, whatever pleases their fancy. And they're going to vote for that image because it looked nice. Not because it looked more, more effort was put into it or less effort. It's not about effort at all. So what am I trying to tell here? And once again, I see people saying, the submission that scored like first or second or fifth place, whatever, like on the top, it didn't even look that good. I've seen so much better submissions, but it's one, like, I've been thinking about it for a long time. It's one thing looking at the submissions on Discord where you actually have a name connected to submission and you have time, and you look at each image for a long time, you zoom it in full screen on Discord. It's completely different from just doing voting in the game where everything is anonymous, unless you're on PS4. When everything is anonymous and you basically just voting for the picture solely on the base how it's reflected in your mind in the first 5 seconds. Most of the time, you make your decision just from first glance. And yeah, if you can open up both pictures, most of the time, it's just not going to be even a competition. Most of the time I'm voting, it's very obvious which photo is better. So it's really, it doesn't allow you to be completely, actually that allows you to be completely unbiased. But when you have any kind of connection to the image, for example, you see a person you like on Discord post an image, or you see me work for 3 hours during the stream making an image, you feel like it should do better because of that. Plus, when you see the images on Discord or on my channel, you don't see them against other images. It's much easier to like a photo if you see it on its own compared to when you see it compared to some other great submissions. So this is a strange video. I don't know. My point is, we are probably very biased, and if we don't agree with our results, it doesn't mean the system is rigged. Sometimes you're going to score higher than you expected. Sometimes you're going to score lower than you expected. But there are actual issues that pretty much can be almost proven. And some of those issues are... The main of those issues is the fact that some Dreamsnaps actually make it from the wrong weeks, which there's probably a tiny little chance that some person just decided to submit exactly the same submission they did last week. They decided to submit it again this week. I don't know why would they do it, and there's no way to prove it if it's a mistake or if it's just if it's a Dreamsnap mistake or if it's person's mistake. Whatever's going on, it's weird, and I feel like we need developers to look into it and give us a confirmation. I'm sure they can easily, they have certain analytics on their end where they can actually see if any images that were not supposed to be there actually got voted on during a season. It's so easy for them to check on this. So I'm asking developers, if any of you are watching right now, please look into this. Look into the two issues, at least. Number one, make sure that there is no way that previous week submissions can leak into the current week. That is number one. Number two is make sure that people, like, maybe make it like a better way of confirming. Like, for example, just a little example. So I'm gonna make a Dreamsnap right now. I don't know, this is just a test one. I'm gonna change it later. So this is my Dreamsnap. I'm gonna submit it. Wait. Oh, I can actually submit it. Okay. Basically, this is a successful image. Your picture cannot be submitted because it contains Touch of Magic items. Never mind, my dress has Touch of Magic. When you actually successfully submit an image, there is exactly the same message, just with a different line. Your image was successfully submitted. Make it like red message. Don't make it the same as the other message. Make it red, and then give us reminders. For example, give us a reminder if you open the game on the last day before the end of the Dreamsnaps, and give us a reminder that you didn't submit your submission. Maybe you want to go and do it now. So in case it's user error, make it more obvious that there is certain error that your submission didn't go through. If it's not user error, then please figure out why certain people don't get their moonstones. That's really disappointing. If I just one day put a lot of effort into my submission to just wake up and not get any moonstones, I would be very pissed. So this is definitely worth looking into. So these are, in my opinion, the two biggest issues that are actual issues that we can prove mostly that they exist. The randomness of the algorithm, that is, like, there are certain ways to improve it, and I discussed a couple of ways how to do it in a video a few days ago. For example, make us vote more, give us more incentive to vote more. For example, if we vote like extra 50 times, we get something like a furniture pouch, or I don't know. There's so many ways to incentivize people to vote more. Also, introduce a ranking system during voting. So when two images getting a lot of upvotes and they clearly like really good submissions, and you can see that they're gaining rank very fast, then don't pair them against other submissions that are doing so much worse. Pair them against each other. Make sure that like when the week starts, it's like, okay, first few days you're gonna be figuring out which submissions are people favorites, which are not so much. And then during the last couple of days, you refine. You let people vote within certain brackets, certain ranks, to figure out the best of the best, and then the best of the less best, and so on and so forth. There's so many ways to improve it, but in the end, I just want to say one thing. I love Dreamsnaps. I think it's an absolutely beautiful game mode, and it gave Disney Dreamlight Valley another purpose, another life. For people who already finished all the quests, they have always something to do every week, work on their valley. It gives people motivation to work on their valleys, doing the Dreamsnaps, and it gives us moonstones to get those premium items, so people who are actually willing to put a lot of effort in their submissions can expect decent return and even be able to buy most of the premium items they want to get. So Dreamsnaps is an incredible feature, and I'm very grateful for it being added into the game, but there is a few issues that need to be addressed, and hopefully developers can shed some light and give us the answers, at least confirm or deny that everything is working as it's supposed to work. That's all I want. I don't need specifics. Just tell us we checked and we can say with 100% guarantee everything is working properly and your submissions are being voted on fairly. That's all I need to know. Thank you for watching. Huge thanks to all of our supporters. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? What do you think is the biggest issue with Dreamsnaps? I personally barely ever get submissions that are not from the current week. I did maybe last week. I got like 2 that were clearly from the Halloween submission, had nothing to do with pirates. I would get maybe it's certain submissions is hard to tell. Like, how do you know if it's a critter or the full submission? If it has some full items or critters in it, doesn't mean that was from that week. But like, for example, Halloween one or Nightmare Before Christmas one was very obvious and had no place during Pirate Week. So I guess there is some truth to it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content, and I'll see you during the live stream later today. Goodbye.